Well, I'll be. Summer anime came early. We're not even officially done the spring season, and episodes be dropping already. So, the strongest magician in the Demon Lord's army was actually a human, I think is the name. I don't know. These titles get wild, but if we learned anything from the spring season with all the generic looking titles, we gotta stop comparing is it trash or is it going to be good just based on titles? Because these titles may give you a synopsis, but damn if half of them aren't good anymore. And I'm happy to say this one was actually a pleasant surprise. So it came out a little early. From what I'm reading, all of the episodes are actually going to stream 1 week ahead of Japanese broadcasting. So in Japan on TV, this comes out next week. But for us, next week is episode 2, which is really interesting. But yes, the title kind of does tell you what it is. It's, a human who's in a Demon Lord army, and he's the strongest magician. Doesn't lie, it gives you the synopsis. But what I found myself really happy with was how good it actually felt. So the overall vibe, if you haven't checked this episode out and you're wondering should you watch it, my recommendation is yes, I think it's worth watching. It's listed as an Isekai reincarnation story, though nothing has been revealed on that front, though I think it does tie to the whole long-lost civilization that they've been hinting at in this episode, but time will tell on that department. So what we have is basically a human baby was found by one of these demons who raised him, and, before his death basically said, never take off your mask and reveal you're a human, basically. So, over time, he's become a very valuable asset for the Demon Lord's army. We do get to meet the Demon Lord. She's some cute girl on the throne who has a bit of an intimidating aura. But the interesting thing is that, yes, it has like a sillier vibe to it at different points. One of the comic relief characters is a girl named 13, a human maid who accidentally discovered his identity, and she has no serious bone in her body and is just a-okay with being a maid if it means letting her be able to live. Shit, you work for the demons? That's fine with me, boss. She's ridiculous, and I think might be a love it or hate it character for the anime community. I'm currently in the camp of I enjoy her. But the thing that was really nice, and I think my favorite thing about this episode in general, was that as I was watching, I actually got a sense of like, damn, this guy has leadership capabilities, but also it's interesting how he very much clearly doesn't want to just simply slaughter humans, given he is a human himself, but most importantly, he has to walk this very thin line of balancing of, hey, I'm not playing favoritism with the humans, but I gotta direct things in certain ways. It provides for an interesting little bit of drama, and you can tell there's going to be more and more people who will discover his identity. Currently, only Best Girl knows his identity, and don't ask me why she's Best Girl. It's not because of her plot and assets, I swear. But legitimately, this was a very fun first episode. I haven't even gotten around to doing my what will I watch, and shit's already dropping. I think we got Suicide Squad airing the first 3 episodes early tomorrow, unless we don't actually get that. But like in general though, I recommend checking this first episode out because honestly, we got a decent amount to talk about, and this was a great way for me to start the new season, even if it was a bit early. Now, of course, I have full live reactions over on Patreon. We are going to be covering that one every single week over there. If you want to see my full and get thoughts, it's going to be over there exclusively. So something I like a lot about our central character, Ike, is that, yes, it's that kind of walking that thin line. So what ends up happening at one point in this episode is there's this village, right? And basically, there's a group of humans, like the survivors who didn't get slaughtered, and as Ike even says, like, sometimes he does feel rather guilty when he does look out and see a bunch of dead humans, despite fighting for a side that maybe he doesn't want to, or maybe doesn't wish it would be quite like this. So they pretty much ask, like, hey, what's our taxes? Like, they're probably expecting that everything they've been paying up to that point is going to be doubled, tripled, quadrupled, who knows? And he pretty much just says, hey, you're going to pay the same taxes you've always paid, but if you mess around, you're going to find out. And they're visibly quite happy about this. And this even gets called out by the Demon Lord later in the episode, where she's like, why the hell would you do that? And obviously he has to think on the fly, because otherwise, she's gonna rip that mask off and realize he's a human and kill him right then and there. And he says, basically, because of my my mentor, who's now not here, I learned a lot. And one thing is that humans, they don't follow fear, right? Like, you can threaten them and do all this, but at that point, all they have is fear. Then they have no issues with revolting, because, I mean, if you're gonna die anyway, you might as well die fighting. So by giving them that hope, it keeps them more in line, because now they know what will happen if you cross us, but at the same time, it gives them a reason not to. And it's actually correct. He's actually 100% correct with that. And it's interesting to see, because you can definitely get the vibe, or at least for me anyway, that most likely she's going to be one of the first characters to probably realize he is a human. I mean, she's already saying the next time we meet, I want that mask off. It's like, it's very interesting because she realizes that he doesn't think like a demon. And obviously, I think his right-hand man, this pig boy over here, also has a very similar, like, worshipping kind of mindset of, like, this guy doesn't think like a normal demon lord, but, like, he's like, hey, this guy could be a demon lord someday just because of his out-of-box thinking. So, most demons would probably just use humans as slaves and, you know, to repair all the walls out that were broken that we're now promoted to protect because it's such an important and crucial part to our army, is that these walls would take 6 months to repair, and he says we're going to do it in 1 month. But how would you do that? He brings in demons, and now the humans and demons are working together, and they have 8-hour shifts so that they can keep going for 24-hour periods without completely exhausting. It's kind of interesting because it's just like, okay, you can very much tell that this guy's gonna be the bridge between humans and demons, but it's interesting because usually in these types of shows, which I think is one of the things I like about this, is that this character would be the leader. He would be the Rimuru or the Makoto of a show like this, from either Tsukimichi or Slime. But instead what we have is a guy who's a very powerful and probably going to be in a very relevant position over time, but at the end of the day, he is still someone following a demon lord who doesn't know that he likes humans, and obviously she's going to have her suspicions over time. But I think that's what gives it this interesting flair, is that, you know, we're not just putting him in leadership. Like, could he build into a demon lord role someday? Potentially, but I love the idea that rather than him just being and everyone has to agree, he has to find these ways to explain different things so he doesn't get his mask ripped off and executed right then and there, but also so that he can maybe sway the general demon side's perception. And honestly, I mean, if this village ends up working out well long term, the fact that demons and humans might actually get along, now there's obviously going to be conflict, but you can kind of see where I'm getting at, where you're like, okay, this actually kind of has a fun feel to it, and the production was actually really solid. I did notice some 3D, but it blended in quite well. The art direction is very sharp. I like it. I think it has a fun vibe. I think if a show like The Newgate from this season had an art style like this, a lot more people would have vibed with that show. In general, I liked it. The opening was way more fire than I was anticipating, but that was a banger of an opening. And they have the perfect VA for our central lead. I mean, if Ainz was a human is kind of how I'm looking at this, and it's interesting because it's like the reverse anti-Ainz mentality, but I kind of love what he's doing right now. Like, I'm not here to say this was a 10 out of 10 perfect episode, but legitimately this was a great first episode that has my interest, it has my curiosity on where different elements could go, but most importantly, it didn't give me any red flags. It was just like a great start to the summer season that came early, and I'm really interested to see where Ike's character is going to go alongside his maid who knows he's a human, this busty witch who also knows, but also, like, I love that moment when he's like, oh shit, how am I gonna get through these gates? They're gonna unmask me. And she does a spell to put, like, this intimidating aura around him, and then they're all like, damn, you must be your grandfather's kid after all. It's just like, so good. Thoughts down below if you checked out the first episode. Are you gonna watch episode 2? Let me know down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course, ring that bell. Like I mentioned, we got those full live reactions over on Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. Alright, so today we got Wade Smith, Versuva Granada, Gabby G, Attack Owl, Enderwolf, Gomison, Matter Paradoxa, and we also have Count Viscount. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care, and y'all have a good one.